Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome aboard the Niles Canyon Railway, part of the original Transcontinental Railroad, authorized by President Abraham Lincoln in 1862 and completed in 1869. So this was being built during the Civil War.
Oh my gosh.
We're on the National Registry of Historic Places. There's just a few safety rules on this train. Walk, please don't run, keep your hands and the rest of your body inside the train at all times, and there's absolutely no smoking. Feel free to move about the train from one end to the other. You may need to hold on to something. Our carriages are 100 years old, so they can jerk around a little bit. There are 2 restrooms in the concessions car located in the middle of the train. It's an old baggage car that we've converted to a concessions. And please visit this car anytime during our trip. There you can buy food, sodas, coffee, snacks, and so on. And you can also bring your own food and beverages on the train at any times. Please make use of the garbage cans and the recycling bins throughout the train and at the depot. So we just departed the Sunol depot, which happens to be the last Southern Pacific one-story combination depot still standing today. So that depot at Sunol was built in the 1880s and it was used by the Southern Pacific Railroad until March 10th of 1941. Now the town of Sunol was named after Antonio Marie Sunol, a native of Spain who settled here in around 1819. At that time there were 4 hotels in Sunol, and they rivaled the accommodation in nearby San Francisco. So they've all burned down on various dates and nearly forgotten now. One of the important points I'd like to make about the railroad is that you're actually sitting in a museum. So we are an operating railroad museum. Everybody here is a volunteer. So please make sure that you notice the donations boxes around in the commissary. We really appreciate your donations, and what that does, and you buying tickets, it helps us keep our railway history alive. And if you see one of the brakemen, the conductor, or one of the docents walking around, please ask us any questions. We love telling people about the history of the railroad. So let me now give you a very brief history leading up to the creation of the Transcontinental Railroad. So if we go back many thousands of years, between 5,000 and 15,000 years, the first Native Americans arrived here, the Ohlone Native Americans. Then jumping ahead several thousand years, in the late 1700s, the first Europeans, the Spanish, arrived here, coming up the west coast from Mexico, from what is now called Mexico. In 1797, the Spanish established Mission San Jose, which is one of the 22 missions they established up the coast of California. Mission San Jose still exists in Fremont to the south part of Mission Avenue. So this area was Spanish from the late 1700s to 1821, when Mexico gained its independence. The territory was then Mexican until 1846, when the European settlers declared independence from Mexico, creating the California Republic, which lasted for about a year. This happened during the Mexican-American War, and General Fremont took over the California Republic and later became a prominent Californian. In 1848, gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill in the Sierra foothills, and by 1849 we had a gold rush, which greatly contributed to California becoming a state in 1850. Then 19 years later, in 1869, the Transcontinental Railroad was completed, causing a great influx of immigrants from the eastern part of the United States. As I mentioned before, please say hello to any of the crew, the conductor, the brakeman, Jim and myself are docents. You can probably tell from my accent that I'm from very, very far south. So I'm from Australia, and interestingly, we had our
Remember
own
one year when the
Australia,
H train derailed at that creek?
The history and the culture down there as well.
It happened one year where the H train derailed at that creek
We're
somewhere.
going to get to Brightside Yard. So 120 years ago, Brightside was a busy resort stop. So every weekend during the summer from 1897 until World War II, trains brought people here from San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland, and the San Joaquin Valley to enjoy the cool canyon and swimming in Alameda. Some stayed a whole week or more. There were picnic tables, baseball diamond, horseshoe pits, and a very popular resort hotel. High up on the hill, there's actually the remains of a dance pavilion and a hunting lodge. This resort spot, or hot spot, closed at the start of World War II and did not resume after World War II because of the rise of the automobile. It gave faster and more convenient transport to other venues. It's worth noting that 90% of all travel between cities in the US until the end of World War II was by train. So just imagine it, whereas we take cars, we take airplanes, and sometimes we might take trains. So up until World War II, 90% of all travel is by train.
We're just going to go take the bus car.
I'm gonna stay here.
Okay.
We're now entering our depot, Brightside Yard. This is the widest point of the canyon, and this is where we store, restore, and maintain our equipment. The Pacific Locomotive Association was founded in July of 1961. We have about 5 steam locomotives, just under 20 diesel locomotives, and many cars, freight cars, cabooses, and so on, variety of railroad equipment. Most of the equipment is on the north side of the train. Initially, the Pacific Locomotive Association, it was up at Castro Point, and it moved to Niles Canyon in 1987. So the Southern Pacific had removed all the track, so we had to lay the track and construct needed buildings. So this is a really important point. The track that you're running on, we are the only people that run on the track. We have crews that go out that lay track. We have crews that maintain the track, maintain the gardening, and so on. So this is our own run. It's about 8 miles we'll do today. And really interesting is that we're currently extending the rail into Pleasanton. We can now get as far as Happy Valley Bridge in Pleasanton. And the next stop will be Ace Hardware. We then have to cross the road, and then we'll be going down to Sunol Boulevard. If you live in Pleasanton, you'll notice a set of railroad tracks sitting there. That is where the train will be coming to once we complete the work over the next number of years. Right now we're coming up on the signals as we cross 2 roads. Each has a railroad crossing signal to warn cars to stop for the train. So the first crossing also has wigwags on each side of the track. And what I mean by a wigwag, it's that swinging red light at the top of the crossing that swings backwards and forward, so it kind of wigs and wags. They were the first electrical lights used to warn highway traffic that a train is coming. So as we go across the road, we are going to have to do something like this in Pleasanton as we go past Ace Hardware. So we'll likely have to put boom gates down to stop the traffic, have some signals, and then go across the road. everybody's aware of the famous transcontinental railway Golden Spike connecting the East Coast of the United States to Sacramento. And it was driven at Promontory Point, Utah on May 10, 1869. But remember at that point that they connected Sacramento to the east of the US. And in the meantime, the Western Pacific Railroad had been established in 1865 to build the westernmost portion of that. They went bankrupt, Central Pacific took over, and it took a few more months after the Golden Spike was driven into the Central Pacific Railroad to connect and to complete the Western Pacific track, completing the route from Sacramento to Stockton, west over the Altamont Pass, through the Livermore Valley, through Niles Canyon here, and onto San Jose and Alameda. Remember, Alameda was a peninsula back then. So that was September of 1869. So we have our own Golden Spike to commemorate completion of the true transcontinental railroad all the way to the Pacific Ocean. If you look for a small platform very near the left, south side of the tracks, that's where our Golden Spike is located. 10 years. The Central Pacific Railroad completed the takeover of the Western Pacific by 1870. And then around 1885, the Central Pacific was taken over by the Southern Pacific. The Southern Pacific ran trains here until 1984, at which time a massive mudslide in Altamont Pass severed their line, and they abandoned this line and consolidated their limited freight traffic on the route with the Union Pacific, located across the canyon from our track. So the route that we're traveling on now was most recently part of the Southern Pacific system, and most of our diesel engines and cars came from the Southern Pacific. And when we go through our depot at Brightside, you can notice the locomotives and the carriages with the markings of the Southern Pacific Railroad. On the first of our two bridges. If you noticed on the right, the north side of the train, you'll see a round bullet-like concrete structure about the size of a phone booth. And in fact, it is a phone booth for control of the train traffic in the canyon. It was built in 1925, and its shape signifies that this is a dispatch stop. The trains would stop here and use the telephone to pick up their orders, including information on any other trains in the canyon. And all along the route, you can notice the old telegraph wires that went up and down the canyon as well, another communications method. So the first of our two bridges is Firewall Bridge. The bridge itself was originally built in 1866 as a 488-foot long wooden truss design. The present steel bridge replaced the wooden bridge in 1896. However, the concrete supports for this bridge and the old next bridge we cross still have the original concrete supports, still holding up as we cross Highway 84 and Alameda Creek since 1866. Now, that's some good building there. been informed that the Highway 84 has been closed to vehicle traffic, so you will not be able to return through Highway 84, and will have to take the 680 around it if you're heading south. Now, I mentioned those telegraph wires and telegraph poles all along the side of the track. If you look very carefully, you'll see two different types. You'll see round ones and you'll see square ones. So the square ones are about the size of regular telegraph poles, but they're sometimes called Texas toothpicks. Those are the original poles installed by the Western Union in the 1860s. So every time you see one of those square poles, just think about how old that is. It's from the 1860s. Yeah, the transcontinental telegraph line, it was built simultaneously and parallel with the railroad. So after the railroad was built, it took only minutes to send a message to New York. So on the telegraph, instead of 3 months to send a letter, followed by 3 months to receive a letter back, it took only 2 weeks to travel here instead of 3 months. Before the railroad, people across the eastern US got here by sailing around the tip of South America or crossing land in Panama. And when they did that, if they had to go across Panama, there was a great threat of contracting malaria. And starting in the 1840s, they could also take a wagon train through the Great Plains and over the Sierras, which was also dangerous. So train travel was certainly fast and safe. Okay, so I messed up before. We're now just getting to our first bridge. But you get the general information. This is my training to be a docent, and Jim's doing a good job educating me.
What the heck was that? They don't. What the?
You probably noticed that we've crossed over the creek and we're on the other side for about a mile. So the Union Pacific put in a mile-long tunnel to the hill to our left. They also, when they built this tunnel, they had to build this tunnel when they put in the track on in 1909 because the track we were on was already here as part of the Transcontinental Railroad.
There's some cookies right here.
So this Transcontinental Railroad track had to be put on the south side of the creek for this 1 mile because the hills are too steep
Can
on
you
the
scroll
other
a little
side.
bit and I'll leave it for a second. There we go. Maybe I got it. Yep, I did it. It fits right in. Boy, roaring river over there, huh? Look, this stuff slides down. They had rock slides on the train track.
Very shortly, we'll go on the second of our 2 bridges. It's named the Dresser Bridge. You'll see we'll go past a sign that says Dresser, and it was originally built in 1866 as a 380-foot wooden truss bridge. The wooden bridge was replaced in 1906 by this all-steel rivet construction. The 2 wooden bridges were replaced by steel because the trains got heavier. And it's really funny because my notes here say the creek has flooded the road here a few times. When I look at the creek right now, it looks like it's perilously close to flooding the road again. So we've had a lot of rain in the last 24, 48 hours. So the creek drains all the land from Mount Hamilton to Mount Diablo down to San Francisco Bay. So it starts near the Calaveras Reservoir and changes its name a few times before being called Alameda Creek.
Good cookies? Perfect, just right for it. Look, the tree fell down. Yeah, mudslides. Look how the edge of the road slipped off. See, it's sliding right off. Yeah, policeman's watching it. Make sure no cars slide off. Because it wrecked the car, people would get hurt. Do you care? You tell me why.
For those that have been listening, you would have heard the whistle go off on the steam engine. When approaching a crossing, the engineer sounds 2 long, 1 short, and 1 long blast with the whistle. This sequence of sounds is the letter Q in International Morse code. And it's said that England used this on ships approaching port. If the Queen was on board, Q equals Queen on board, to let people on shore know that they'd better be on their toes. And the railroads adopted the code as their warning sound for crossings. I'm not sure what they would do if there was a king instead of a queen, but we'll leave that story alone. So we'll go with Q in Morse code.
Started with Queen Victoria.
Another reminder that we have the concession car in the middle of the train. We have delicious hot dogs. That was my lunch today, and I can vouch for them. It was fantastic. We have sodas, we have coffee, and we have lots of other snacks.
No, don't put it there because it can tip over. Either there or hold on to it. Or hand it to me, I'll hold it.
As we
Don't
departed
just let it
Sunol,
sit there.
I told everybody how this is actually a museum. And that's right, we're an operating museum, and everybody you see here is a volunteer. We do this because we really enjoy keeping our rail history alive. Perhaps you're sitting there and thinking, well, how do you get involved? It's super easy. We can accommodate any people with any skills. We'll give you the training that you need. I'm going to personally start training as a brakeman, and then you can work your way up from a brakeman to a conductor, and eventually you could end up being an engineer or a fireman on the train. So we give you the training. Please think about becoming a member. It's surprisingly inexpensive to have a family membership. And one of the great benefits is that you can ride any of our non-special trains. That's not the beer train or the wine train or the Valentine's Day. We call these special trains. But you can ride any other train free of charge. And this is probably a good time to remind you that we do have these special trains throughout the year. The beer train is my favorite. Being an Australian and a fan of beer, I do enjoy the beer train. Unfortunately, I can't drink while I'm working as a volunteer, but it's a great experience. We've had wine trains, we have Valentine's Day trains. There's a bunch of different special trains, and they really make a fantastic experience. And again, one of the things I mentioned when we left Sunol, you can bring on board your own food and drink as long as you clean up after yourself at the end, and as long as you drink responsibly. And some of our more experienced guests, they'll do on especially on a beautiful summer's day, they'll bring a bottle of wine, some cheese and some crackers, and just have a wonderful day riding the train up and down between Niles and Sunol. Shortly, we'll be going across Mission Boulevard and coming into our depot in Niles. If you haven't been to Niles, it's a town that is rich in history. How many of you knew that Niles was pretty much Hollywood before Hollywood was established? there were hundreds of silent films made in Niles. The SNA movie studio was here, and from 1912 to 1916, 375 silent Western movies were made here, including Gilbert Rockabilly Anderson, Tom Mix, William S. Hart, Mary Pickford, and the most famous Charlie Chaplin. The movie of Charlie Chaplin, The Tramp, where he's walking up a canyon twirling his cane, is actually Niles Canyon. And for those that haven't visited, please visit the museum, the film museum in Niles, and they have a lot of great photos. There were studios all over the town of Niles. You'll also find fantastic antique shops, some great little cafes. There's a great historic garage. I like nothing more than to have lunch in Niles on the weekend and really soak up the historic atmosphere. Now, just a quick note, we do at times run trains from Niles. Obviously, when we stop in Niles, we're not letting anybody get off this time. So when the train pulls into Niles, what will happen is that we will stop. Nobody will be getting off except the brakeman. They will decouple the steam engine. The steam engine will then come alongside the train, and it will go up and it will couple onto the other end of the train, and it will pull us back to Sunol. So while we're stopped in Niles, it's a great time to use the restrooms,
Did you hear
go to
what
the
they're going to
commissary,
do? They're going to put
generally keep
the
enjoying, having
locomotive,
a good
which we
time.
saw get in front, they're going to put
We're
it
not
on
going to do a
that end of the
commentary on a return
train
trip.
and drive
We'll
us back.
let everybody soak up the atmosphere, but Jim and I will be walking around. We're both in yellow rain jackets, and if you have any questions, we will be
Let's come
happy
visit
to answer them.
Niles,
I think Jim will be answering more than I will, but it's been great
Like
talking to you.
those? Yeah, because they're so yummy. Yeah.